and blessings to you, my people. Being directed specifically, more so than not, to the black man, to the black male. Today, September the 17th, 2011, it will be my endeavor to speak regarding the times. Subject matter will be the cosmic renaissance, returning back to nature under the auspices of the greatness of the oneness of the black man in America, under allegiance as a species in nature's law. My name is Brother Collard Dunn. The nature of this endeavor is rooted in the greatness of the oneness of the black man in America. The galvanized back under nature's law, ourselves as a species, as one, inseparable, unseparated, crossing all lines, fences, labels, categories, structures, simply because before all of the categories came into play, fences, labels, systems that had divided us, authentically, we were one. The highest utterance and sound today on the planet is a call back to nature, coming back to natural order. And in order to do that, we first must be summoned as a species through language, echoing the sound of truth, echoing the sounds and reminders that we are related, that we do have a relationship, that we ourselves did not create, but as we came through the family structure, from our mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, we inevitably began to realize that we were related to a species. The specification of a people. From that, we have been disconnected within ourselves. Coming back to nature implies simply coming back to ourselves in authentic terms, internally. Because when we speak in terms of nature, we're speaking about the inside of ourselves, within each of us. to reconnect with the life source we call God, we call spirit, we call soul. The essence and the nature of our being within our physical form. The only way that we can reconcile the damage, the destruction, the horror, the disconnection that has taken place among us, with us, is to force ourselves back upon ourselves and become reacquainted with ourselves, in ourselves, to ourselves, within ourselves. That implies that we must begin to divest ourselves from every object, every element, every structure that exists in our immediate environment. Phone, book, computer, TV, newspaper, magazine, empty of all instruments and left to the silence of what exists between our ears, and to conform and to construct a language reflective of prayer, because prayer language throughout the entire planet is the only language that's chemically identifiable with our inner life source. Language, in its inherent makeup, is a chemical phenomenon and an electric phenomenon. As it's sounded of ourselves, to ourselves, within ourselves, with the vibratory quality of the inner world, it will begin to transform, reshape, reconstruct, cleanse, wash, scrub, and disintegrate all of the damage, all of the horror, all of the malady, all of the misconception, all of the misguidance that we've been given. Understand that language has played a super role on the part of those that rule us in the society, on the planet, the Caucasian. Language has played a super role in keeping us bound, in keeping us locked away, in keeping us misled, because it has not been rooted in truth. Truth must be presented to us, born from our experience. Several of our elder brothers present have endeavored to impart to us the truth of our experience. The elder brother, Malachi York, was very prolific and very profound in his utterance of truth, reminding us of the trails that our experience has left in time. His presentations of truth, born from our experience, was so profound that the rulers of the society had to lock him down. The forerunner of the elder brother Malachi York is my elder brother, the most honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Who has endeavored to represent to us the actualization of our experience. And from the experience having been imparted to us by these two great spirits, by these two gods, those of us who have been the recipients of their presentation have been impacted upon to be released from many layers and many stages of bondage that has been superimposed upon us through the process of 500 years. The truth of what they've imparted to us have cracked the door, have broke the lock in its tremendousness within us. The next stage that's vital, that's irrefutable, that's unparalleled, that we must step into after having been taught the truth. The next vital, unparalleled stage that we must engage is facing ourselves under the auspices of prayer and meditation, which have nothing to do with religion. We have been praying for millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of years, because we were the first born to the planet. The new language that has been given to identify us in this time has been Opapi. Opapi, original people of planet Earth. Opapi, original people of planet Earth. Not aboriginal, but original. Aboriginal would imply against the authenticity of our originality. Opapi is a new sound given that we might begin to entertain its composition, its chemistry, and begin to identify with its makeup. Language is being revisited to us by the Lord God of our mothers and fathers. We, this brother Caladan, calls the Amen. The first sound uttered, the first sound that we uttered, moving through time, descending deeper into matter, was Amen. Throughout the earth, in the east, the first aspects of the word Om have been survived. However, our ancestors from Egypt prior to the pre-dynastic periods brought Amen into the pre-dynasty of Egypt. Coming out of Atlantis, element existed prior to moving into Egypt, prior to Atlantis. We resided where the Pacific Ocean is today. Lemuria. Is where we first inhabited and was formed on earth's scene. We must not take language lightly. Being reminded that it's the medium that the Lord God of our mothers and fathers provided us to connect unknown worlds and to examine and observe the commonality or the estrangeness that exists between ourselves. Language is the salt of the society. Language is the salt of the existence. Language is key. When we look back in hindsight and witnessing its impact within us, creating the impressions creating the desires, creating the passions, creating the emotions, creating the feelings. Language, chemically, is the electric phenomena. It's a very profound dynamic to rule, govern, to control, and to contain. Based on how we've been trained by the rulers of the society, we've been fashioned and molded in such a way that progressive language, effervescent language, that would be a stimulant to our higher nature. Language that would be adoring to our inner makeup. Language that would be appealing to our nature. Based on how we've been trained, we have rejected that language. In the most simplest relationships that we have gone, in the most simplest exchanges that we have had. However, same time, language that has been erosive, language that has been debilitated to break us down, to make us feel like nothing. Language that has been repugnant, to repel us, to reject us. We automatically, authentically accept line, hook, sinker, and all at its utterance. We have no discrepancy within ourselves to receive its chemical and its elemental makeup in its relationship to ourselves. This is how we've been trained. Prayer and meditation are the mediums by which would enable us to reset the dial within us. Prayer and meditation has the ability and the capacity to reshape, to reconstruct, to redesign the inner world that we function from. All of those that have come in time to provide us a right sense of direction, their awakeness, their enlightenment had to be born from within them. They had to press themselves. They had to travail with themselves. They had to go into the deepest dimensions of themselves to be given the vital knowledge to bring back to the masses. They had to war with themselves. They had to fight with themselves. They had to struggle with themselves to be reclaimed, to be reborn, to be renewed. But whatever they was given, it was in a language form, rooted in truth, rooted in nature. And nature represents the divine. The black woman represents nature. Nature represents the feminine side of God. The empty space represents the masculine side of God. Spirit and matter. The yin and the yang. The inner and the outer. The man called Jesus, according to the language of the Black Book, emphatically indicated that in this time that we're in, that the kingdom of heaven would have to be taken by force. In that, we are initially, authentically, internal people with the changes that have transpired on the earth. We have been kicked outdoors and made extroverted. The last, forgive me, please, the last 500 years have only condensed that more emphatically. Because those who have encapsulated us, those who have dominated us, those who rule us, the Caucasian, is extroverted. And he has been our teacher. She has been our teacher. They have been our teachers. The Caucasian male and female. They have fed us their understanding of life. They have fed us their nature. They have fed us their way. Now it's upon us as a responsibility being uttered from among us to us that we must re-examine what has taken place in time. If we cannot see the damage, if we cannot see the malady, if we cannot see the breakdown, if we cannot see the corruption, if we cannot see the disease, if we cannot see the sickness, if we cannot see the madness, the insanity, the fiendishness that we ourselves have become, then of course there will be no need to hearken and listen to a new sound, to a new utterance that will remind us of the time, that will reacquaint us with ourselves. Therefore, we will remain lost in hell, because that's where we are. As a doctor, physician, lawyer, judge, cop, executive, PhD degree, preacher, basketball player, football player. We have moments of sobriety and effervescence, but predominantly we each can bear witness that we are in hell. Because out of all of that we've been given, we've not been guided back within ourselves, unto ourselves, to reconcile. Forgive me. Please forgive me. Let me slow down. To reconnect ourselves with the life source within ourselves. Out of all of the cultivating and culturalization that we've received of being proper, we have yet lacked to nurture and to develop a sensitivity between us. We have yet lacked to develop consideration between us. Yet, we have lacked to develop respect within ourselves. Understanding, of course, if there's no respect within us as individuals, we cannot give respect to others among us. Everything has to begin within each of us. And respect is dismal, if not present. So it has to begin in us recognizing the sound and the reminder of self-indulgence under the auspices of bowing down, under the auspices of grabbing ourselves literally, figuratively, and actually in our collars, and forcing ourselves to spend time with ourselves, to ourselves, by ourselves, and plunge into ourselves to reconnect with ourselves as far as the life source within ourselves is concerned, that of which represents spirit, breath, eternity, divinity. It has to begin with us. The new revolution is not what we do outside, as it were, years ago. The new revolution is what we do inside of ourselves. As we become reconnected within ourselves, we inevitably find a connection and an alignment happening with us and others of us. As we begin to examine, explore, and excavate the dimensions within ourselves, we then begin to realize our internal connection with each other. We begin to realize, as we upgrade, transform, and revitalize our internal makeup, it will affect millions that don't even see our physical presence, because we are connected internally under the auspices of natural law. Therefore, we affect each other internally. Near and far as a species, this is our relationship under the auspices of nature. The rulers of the earth, the Caucasians, would hate this sound being uttered to us. But irrespective of their disturbance with the sound. The forces that are unfolding in the society, the divine forces, our elder brothers coming intermittent to and fro in our spaces, in the cities, in the country, outside of the country. The elder brothers in the flying saucers. These are our elder brothers, black man, black woman. Not from outside of this galaxy, but within this galaxy. If it was allowed us to know that they were not from outside of the galaxy, that they have come from inside of the galaxy, where did they begin? They began in Lemuria. They extended themselves to Atlantis. These are Atlantean brothers that have come to assist us in our awakening. They are intermitting life forces, energy fields into the Earth's atmosphere in conjunction with the heavenly bodies, the planets, because of this being a new dispensation. A dispensation comes into existence every 2,500 years. The number 7, which is indicative of change, transformation, reconstruction, new beginning. But the phenomenon is, and the extraordinariness is, at this stage, not only is there a cycle that we're in of 2,500 years, but there's also a period that we're in, 25,000 years, a planetary period. Periods are longer than cycles. All life is ruled and governed under the auspices of periods and cycles. We've just come out of a period of 12,000 years of planetary night, a period of ignorant materialism, a period of knowledge without wisdom. The Caucasian was given birth to in the planetary night. He's a creature of the night, having been formed as a mutant through an experimental process on the part of our elder brothers in Egypt, headed by Anubis, the jackal-headed god, having been described as the god of the underworld. But he was real to life. He was true to life. It was through Anubis that took the initiative, that took the experimental approach, that did the exploration to pilgrimage the elements in the earth, to concern himself with synthesizing the gene of the animal and the gene of the human together. He used the gene from the jackal, the hyena, and the gene from the human. Together, he produced an object, a life form, half human, half beast. For a period of time in Egypt, 6,000 years ago, they were given to us as pets, but they became out of hand, and the elders had to cast them out into Europe, in a place called the Roquetno Swamps, left unto themselves to be on all fours. The whole nature of the movie industry, under the auspices of the Caucasian, bringing into play the Wolfman, derived from his race, root, soul consciousness, is where he drew the idea from, because it's heavily, deeply embedded within them. Those who are on the forward crest, the more progressed-minded of the Caucasian, drew those levels of ideas from the highest plane possible in the race. Every race has its own individual race, group, soul consciousness, formed and developed from their own individual experience. And every time an individual in the race goes through transition or dies, all of the knowledge that they've gathered is emptied into the race, group, soul consciousness. So, in his moving through time, the Caucasian, he himself has exposed and revealed who he is with Dracula, a bloodsucker, in that for the time left in the Roquetno swamps in Egypt, forgive me, not in Egypt, but in Europe, they had to survive off of flesh, raw flesh, raw blood. For 1,500 years or more, they ate it. Blood, flesh, bone and all, whatever they can consume. Therefore, his nature is to love the sight of blood. There's a generation of excitement being generated in him. So not that he is a consumer of blood as of such in the context of Dracula, but there are two forms that we have neglected to bear witness to that are life-giving agents that represent the life force flowing through our veins into our bodies. That's blood as we know it, of course, enabling us to reproduce ourselves, semen. So what is a blood-sucking element? They are consumers of semen. They love to suck semen from the body, which is the life force. As it has been shown, they are renewed in their chemistry, in their youthfulness, as the movies would have it, by drinking blood from others. But they are also renewed in truth, in practical terms, by sucking the semen from other bodies under the auspices of sex. They are regenerated, revitalized, and renewed. So therein lies their Dracula nature. Again, these are hidden truths that have been touched upon by some of the gods, specifically the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, coming from the god, Master Farad Muhammad. But they never specified the interbreeding, the interdimensional exchange between the human form and the animal form. They never emphatically indicated that it took place in Egypt. 6,000 years ago, Egypt was the only holy place on the planet. 6,000 years ago. But we were still massively asleep. There were those yet among us that were still awake. And from their awakeness, they took upon themselves this approach to explore, to excavate, and eventually produce this life form that nature eventually received. And as you have been taught in science, the animal doesn't have a soul. He has a spirit, but he doesn't have a soul. So these are the soulless people, essentially. Not totally and completely, because there are some of them that have souls, that have gathered souls, and their pilgrimage coming back and forth. But it's microscopic. However, this is where we are. But the focus, again, is not on the Caucasian. The focus is on ourselves, black man, black woman. We now have become the new devil, black man, black woman. We now have become the new demons, black man, black woman. We now have become the new beast, devouring one another day to day in our exchanges between ourselves. We can only be redeemed if we can see, if we can accept the dilemma we face. We can only be redeemed if we can see, if we can accept that we need to change. But if we cannot see the horror, if we cannot see the disaster, if we cannot see the sickness, if we cannot see the ugly in ourselves, not in the other, but in ourselves as individuals, in our introspective approach, then we will have no desire to change the caliber and the nature of what's inherent within each of us. As we said earlier, even though we are politicians at the highest level, even though we live in homes that cost millions of dollars, and we have millions of dollars in the bank, we are still operating as two-legged beasts with the nature of a four-legged beast, with the mind of the invalid and the nature of a dinosaur. So, it's our decision, having our mental doors racked on, knocked on, to look, to view, to analyze, to examine. Don't believe nothing we say, please. Don't accept nothing we say, please. But check it out as best you can for yourself. And let manifestation validate to you what's true. Because manifestation on the earth is the only proof of truth, irrespective of personality. And we again must be reminded that truth has never, ever, eternally been personal. It cannot be, because of its own inherent makeup and nature, being divine, having to encompass the existence in its application. Therefore, truth cannot be personal. That which we have claimed to be personal could only be a dream. And all dreams come to sleepers. And in sleep, we dream. And they are individual to ourselves, closing out and separating us from others. But as we go to bed and sleep and dream, we also walk day to day with our eyes open in a sleep state called somnambulism. It's a disease enabling us to walk, having the appearance of being awake, but within ourselves, we're still asleep. Coming out of 12,000 years of planetary night, that sleep was placed upon us by the divine forces under the auspices of natural order. The multitude of us are still in a lulled state of mind, having not come fully awake to the consciousness of this now new planetary day and this new 2,500-year cycle, in this new 25,000-year period, the Lord of our mothers and fathers left it to us to deliver ourselves, providing us with the truths that will enable us to rise out of this mucker, out of this mire, out of this hell. But it's our decision, understanding that language will play a major role in penetrating us and entering us if we allow our doors to be open to receive its echo. If we allow our doors to be open to receive its sound, only then can it begin to germinate within us and assimilate to the necessary organic structure within us to bring us back to ourselves authentically and make us humble ourselves and be sensitive to ourselves, among ourselves, with one another. Until then, we are yet callous, cold, dark in our hearts, dismissed from ourselves, disjointed from ourselves, disconnected from within ourselves, and torn away from the divine force, beginning with nature. And whatever begins with nature ends with nature, because it's inseparable with the divine force in total. So again, this sound this utterance, this language is coming from the streets, the black streets of America, under the auspices of the greatness of the oneness of the black man in America. Check it out. It's a movement of time. It's not an organization. It's a movement of time. And those who would hear the sound and the utterance coming from the greatness of the oneness of the black man, from the streets, from the black streets of America, that would care to support, that would care to invest, that would care to indulge yourself. Understand. Please understand that responsibility must be accepted first. The first pillar of the greatness of the oneness of the blackness of the, the greatness of the oneness of the black man. The first pillar is prayer and meditation. Because without the prayer, without the meditation, black man, black woman, we cannot penetrate ourselves. Without the prayer, without the meditation, we cannot re-enter ourselves. We cannot begin to acquaint ourselves with ourselves. Without the prayer, without the meditation, we cannot begin to cleanse and reshape. Without the prayer and the meditation, we cannot begin to separate ourselves from the demons and the devils that we've attracted to ourselves within ourselves, ruling and dominating ourselves. Without the prayer, without the meditation, we cannot become devoted to ourselves as a species, to the rise and upliftment of our people. Without the prayer, without the meditation, we will not know humility. Without the prayer, without the meditation, we will not know sacrifice. Without the prayer, without the meditation, We will not know surrender without the prayer, without the meditation. We will not understand the second pillar, allegiance to ourselves as a species. Allegiance could only come into awakeness, could only come into play, could only come into focus within each of us based on the seriousness of us bowing down, based on the seriousness of us investing ourselves in reconnecting with the life source within ourselves to realize unparalleled, unequal, irrefutable, the relationship that's eternal between us. Black allegiance to ourselves as a species, as given to every species in existence in terms of life forms, animated life forms, born in their DNA. When we understand the nature of allegiance, look back in your mind and see the chemistry that it provides for those of ourselves, having identified ourselves as American citizens, coming from all parts of the earth, but having pledged an allegiance to the system, to the society, we have neutralized and disintegrated every outstanding element within ourselves, and we have surrendered it all to uphold, to protect, to be governed by, to be led by the system and the frameworks of the system in America. Under the word allegiance, when you understand its composition, its chemistry, you can witness its profundity. So in its own inherent makeup, as it relates to each individual species, we can see its role of authority. Out of those who move and operate on the planet, those who function under the auspices of allegiance as a species unto themselves, have validated themselves to be an authority. Who is that? The Caucasian, in the race amalgamation of tribes, Spaniard, French, English, German, Jews, all tribes under one race, but in allegiance unto themselves under the auspices of a white God, that they can all see a relationship between themselves. They have born and bound themselves together, unbreakable, and they have represented an indelible authority on the earth. China is the only other authority indomitable of being dominated. As much as they have been invaded by Europe, they have still survived because they understand the nature of allegiance to themselves. And they teach their children an allegiance unto themselves as a species. They understand the workings of nature. They have upheld the honor and the respect that others of us, of people of color, have lost. They've done a very profound and unparalleled job in maintaining their position of autonomy and sovereignty. They are to be esteemed and honored by all of us as black people, because their positions have given us hope. Their positions have giving us possibility. We can only retain our role by realizing the value of truth being uttered to us in language regarding our experience. Truth crushed to the earth as justice crushed to the earth, and has been uttered by others of us, will rise again. And here we are, indomitable, knocking at the door of those who have the capacity to receive its sound, to receive its vibration, to accept its responsibility. All truth given to us is not to be applied to others outside of ourselves. It first must be applied to us, to cleanse us, and to free us from the bondages that have been superimposed upon us by others, and the bondages that we have superimposed upon ourselves. First, when we have become free and released from those encapsulations, then we can begin to share it and apply it to others. We first must witness the workings of it with ourselves first. We have been allowed to write that no book can give us the truth, and we claim it for ourselves. Our bodies are the first books on the planet, with all of the experiences that have ever taken place from billions of years are ingrained in the molecular structure, the genes and the DNA within each of us. But the Lord of our mothers and fathers that reside in each of us makes known and makes clear for us to be able to extract those truths, those secrets. We must prove ourselves to ourselves to be true. We must prove ourselves to ourselves to be sincere. We must prove ourselves to ourselves to be honest. We must prove ourselves to ourselves to be convicted for our own redemption, for our own salvation, for our own deliverance. And then, and only then, will we be allowed to be the recipients of the light of truth that will give us the right sense of direction and enable us as to how we're to perform and behave between ourselves, not in what we say, but in how we become in our behavior, in our attitude, in our deportment, dealing between us. Other than that, it's dead. So a call back to nature. The cosmic renaissance, calling us back to nature. Under the auspices of the greatness of the oneness of the black man, from the street, from the black streets of America. So check it out. See where you are in it. Witness the blight, the decay, the erosion, the corruption that exists among us. Before it can exist among us collectively, it has to exist among us individually. The disease, the madness, has to exist within each of us that we pass on to each other from within us, even if not witnessed physically, because of our connection internally under the auspices of natural law. We still transfer to others of us, causing the epidemic that we witness every day. So until we take the time, until we make the time to shut everything down that will hinder us from looking into ourselves, that will hinder us from developing prayers that will enable us to enhance ourselves and our growth, in our uprightness of reach, in our transformation. We will remain rock gut with a handsome face, with a stout body, muscles budging every place, but still raggedy in the head, still dark in the heart. Sister with a beautiful face, with unparalleled body, but rock gut in the head and dark in the heart. Our forms can no longer determine our value. Our roles in the society can no longer determine our value to each other. The money we got in the bank can no longer determine our value to each other. We've proven to be criminals, those of us who have money, based on the roles we play in the system. Money to burn, yet we have been neglectful to extend ourselves to assist the condition in being transformed, to assist the conditions in being transcended from irate, decadent among our people that each of us know to be locked down, locked away. Those of us who have money have made no effort to contribute to the raising up, to the cleaning up of our people. You contribute to everything else that is mammy but us. Charity begins at home, black man. Charity begins at home, black woman. We supported you to arrive in the levels and to the arenas that you find yourself bathing in. But you have forgotten to give back something vital that will help transform the irate conditions you know to be present among us. That's a criminal mind. That's a wicked mind. That's an evil, decadent mind. That's a callous mind and heart that refuse to see and to accept that you can help with your money to defray some of the conditions that are overwhelmingly killing us every day in the society. But you've been cut away. You've been disconnected with language given you by the rulers of the society to lead you to believe that you're different, that you don't fit with the species that nature and the divine forces gave you to be part of yourself, that enables you to be who you are. It didn't just come from your family tree. We feed each other within ourselves every day to continue the things that we do to survive us on the earth in the conditions and the circumstances and the dilemmas we face. We're being fed from within us, a species, to survive us more than than anybody, more than anything outside of ourselves. We're surviving each other and don't realize it. Under nature's law, it is happening, taking place. But because we've been servant, because we've been disconnected, we have no clue that we're reliant upon each other. You, black man, black woman, hear what's being said to you. This day, Paul, the El Dwarf, accompanying me in music in the background, Alice Coltrane, Pharaoh Sanders, Joe Henderson, and the lot. Tar, El Dwarf, Father the God, our ancestors that we yet feed on, that we've yet forgotten. We must rekindle the presence of our ancestors in our day-to-day consciousness, that they may assist us because we recognize their presence in the space to enable us to fulfill and to accomplish and to give us the grace that we need to continue to move. We must develop think tanks throughout the community, throughout Black America. We must develop prayer tanks throughout the community, throughout Black America, where we come together and pray extensively together for hours to cleanse, to regenerate, to revitalize. We must cross these lines of opposition, of difference. We must see the greater good. We must see the bigger picture in our deliverance as a species, in opposed to the small, fragmented mindset that we've been given, that have compartmentalized us and separated us from ourselves, one from another. We need each other, black man. We need each other, black woman. The evidence and the respect of that sound can only be exercised and displayed in how we display and deport ourselves when we engage each other's space. There is no other occasion to exercise and to display the consciousness, the growth, the maturity, the awakening that we've gathered to ourselves, other than when we come in contact with each other. There is no greater time opportunity beyond that. Black woman, black female, can you possibly accept that in 500 years you have been damaged from what has happened in time? Have you forgot your relationship with the black man? Have you forgot that the Lord of our mothers and fathers brought us into existence together in one body? Though the body was called woman, yet the man was present inside, inseparable. In 500 years, you have forgot that the children was not just taken from you, but they was taken from the black man too. You have forgot that you were raped by the Caucasian, but you have forgot that we as black men were raped too. You have forgot that we as black men were hung to protect and to be man to you. We as black men were murdered to protect and to be man to you. We as black men were beat to death to protect and to be man to you. We as black men were drugged through the street because we chose to stand to protect and be man to you. You don't want to hear this because your heart is cold, because you are a demon and a devil and a beast, and you become perverted in your mind, in your soul, in your being. So what's being said in truth cannot be presented to you, and you have an appetite within yourself to be a recipient of what it is. Because if you allow yourself to receive it, you find inevitably that you will have to become responsible for what it speaks to, bringing you back to recognize the value of the black man. The wigs that you wear, my sister, are emphatically making a statement that you hate yourself and you hate the Lord that have produced you with your natural hair. The chemicals that you have put into your hair have destroyed the roots of your hair, but it can be reclaimed. In the Jet magazines now, in the Ebony magazines now, our people have developed products to enable you to grow your hair back. If you will follow the instructions and give yourself a chance in time. There are no instant quits in nature. Everything is a process of time. And we must invest and wait and work and watch. Independent of the products that our people have made to enable your hair to grow, black woman, there are herbs you can use. Rosemary is one herb. Sage is another herb. Oregano is another herb. These herbs can be put together into a tea and made and stored in your refrigerator in gallon containers so that you can drink it every day. And after you take the first coverings of water from the first processing of making the tea, leave the ingredients in the pot, fill the pot back up, and recook the ingredient again. And let it sit as long as possible. Then use that aspect of the tea to wash your hair with whatever other lather or soap that you want to use to wash your hair. Use eggs as a protein in your hair after washing your hair in this process with these herbs. And let it sit for a while, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, then wash it out. These procedures will help you to reclaim the strength of your hair. Concerning as well your diet, the artificial foods that you put into your system is killing you and degenerating your biochemistry. You need to reconsider and re-examine how you're taking care of yourself, black female, black woman. You're moving in the wrong direction. Look at the maladies. Look at the maladjustments you're having biochemically to let you witness for yourself that what you're putting into your mouth is not proven to be in your best interest. Because what you put into your mouth can assist the growth of your hair, the changing conditions in your biochemistry, if you could but listen and receive language that's intelligent, if you could but receive language that is healthy, if you could but receive language that is practical, if you could but receive language that is true, coming from among you. The Caucasian, bringing us through 500 years of havoc and madness and hell, showed a part of himself predominantly as being sick, as being ill, as being impaired, through his process of inflicting pain upon us. He showed himself, he showed his nature as being a sadist. Look up the word, girlfriend. Sadist. Sadist. They've shown you in the modern time the cat or the chick with this black leather get-up, a whip in their hand, somebody with chains around their wrist and their ankle being beat. The ones being beat are reaching orgasms, and the one who's beating them are reaching orgasms. We ask you to examine, my sister and my brother, how many of us have become sadists that we enjoy the pain that we inflict on each other. It's a sick state of mind. It's a sad state of mind. It's an insane state of mind. It's a demented, perverted, fiendish state of mind. Black man, black woman. We must look at ourselves and look at the ugly in these beautiful bodies with these beautiful faces that mean absolutely nothing. Our value must be based on what we bring into play, what we bring into practice. In our dealings with each other, there is no other barometer to measure our worth beyond how we perform between ourselves. And if we're going to change the condition, that means that we have to spend time with ourselves to change the condition, to change ourselves. And the only medium that we've been given is prayer and meditation. Tar, the El Dwar, Alice Coltrane playing in the background as my accompanying agent. Father the God from Egypt, reminding us the time. The cosmic renaissance. Being called back to nature. Under the auspices of the greatness of the oneness of the black man in America. As a species with allegiance under nature's law. We're in a time, this new dispensation, the Aquarian age, dealing with the mind, dealing with learning, dealing with being taught. The Aquarian age, the water bearer, concerning ourselves about physical fitness. But by the same token, we have forgot the polarity of life rules where we are. The polarity of life rules where we are. So we cannot accept the forces being emitted in this new dispensation only of Aquarius. We must be reminded that its opposite is also operative. Leo is the opposite of Aquarius. The forces of Leo are also ruling in this time period. The concern that's effervescent and pervasive about cleaning our heart, raising our heart vibration to another octave up, developing a spiritual life for ourselves, which represents Leo. So Leo and Aquarius are the forces that's ruling this age, as was in the past. We was told that the age that Jesus allegedly came in was the Piscean age, but we was never told its opposite was also dominant and ruling. The Virgo, the Virgonian forces were also operative during that time. This is a new day. New sounds are being provided us. New messages are being given to us. Black man, black woman. What preparations have we made other than to be repugnant and rebellious, to shut ourselves down and to close out any possibility of any new sound that might be uttered and echoed to our head? Remember the nature of language. It can take us up, or it can take us down. The nature of language is an electric phenomenon, chemically composed, to create all kinds of dynamisms within each of us, allowing it to enter into our systems. But it cannot affect us if we don't allow it to enter into our mental doors. We must give ourselves a chance to see and allow time to accompany the chance that we give to ourselves, to let it unfold, let it intricate and integrate with the chemicals of our biochemistry and our mental makeup, to find its position, to connect with the right sources and forces within us to bring about the changes that we're looking for. There are no instant quicks in nature. It has been a scam and a game given to us. This is a new day. The new revolution is to face ourselves. The new revolution is to indulge ourselves with ourselves, to become acquainted with ourselves, to cleanse ourselves, to heighten ourselves. And having acquired a PhD degree hasn't enabled that process to take place. That's an exterior accomplishment. It is not an interior accomplishment. Because with the degree, with the plush roles that you are fitted into in the system, the demons are still present. The beast is still present. The callousness is still present. the estrangeness within us from each other is still present. So the exterior accomplishments have not altered the nature that have been formed and developed from the pilgrimage that we've undergone for 500 years. We're still locked down. We're still untouched because we have made no moves ourselves upon ourselves to cleanse, to scour, to refurbish, to reconstruct, to reshape, to reform our interior world. And all life begins inside. It doesn't begin outside. Nature is inside. It is not outside. As we mature, we inevitably begin to realize that we should focus ourselves not on how what's being said. We should begin to focus on not who's saying it. As we mature and grow, we begin to focus on what's being said. Because out of what's being said, if we can receive it, that will affect us. Any of us can be used as instruments for the divine forces to use to bring forth truth. None of us are more special than others of us. If there is something special, it's based on the work and the responsibility that has been accepted on the part of those that they have been used by the higher forces to bring us truth and to give us the right sense of direction. But we all have the same capacity. But we don't all make the same decision to activate the capacity that we have. You have a beautiful name as Queen, Sister. You have a beautiful name as Princess, Sister. You have a beautiful name as Angel, Sister. You have a beautiful name as Precious, Sister. But guess what? If you have not disciplined yourself to reconnect with the life source in yourself, with the prayer program, with the meditative program, to activate and to stimulate the higher properties within you, then you cannot activate and stimulate the higher properties in your name. Therefore, you will find, and others will witness, that you are one of the greatest beasts, one of the greatest devils, one of the greatest demons with this beautiful name that you've allowed to be drug in the mud, grace, as queen, as princess, as angel, as flower, because you haven't worked on yourself, in yourself, with yourself, to yourself, by yourself, to birth its higher properties. And the higher properties cannot be birthed without discipline and connecting with the life source within you. Up to this point in the social arena, my sister, the size of your behind has been the determining factor of your value. You place yourself on the meat rack. You put ass on the map. Being the firstborn in creation. Being the most esteemed, the most honored, the most revered of those created. Is this all you can bring forth to put on the map? Is your body informed with your content within yourself, measuring that of a beast, of a demon and a devil and a rot gut misfit? The evidence ain't in what's on your lips. The evidence of your performance, my sister. You're the first feeders of the race. The level of impairment, the level of disease that has penetrated you and has encapsulated you, not only to be sadistic, but to be perverted in other areas too. Homosexuality is part of the vogue of this time. The Lord of our mothers and fathers are calling us forth to rise, to be delivered out of bondage on all levels. The bulldaggers among us and outside of us, coming among us, among our women, to impose upon you, will have your tongues cut out, is the cry from the streets to avert the deliverance that's been uttered to us, to sustain the breakdown and the stagnation among our women. We are a whole people. No one of us are more important than all of us. And all of us at stake. So those of you who would be the obstructions to our rise as bulldaggers from the old school, you might have risen to a more refined term to identify yourself, lesbian, but the nature of your makeup chemically is that of a bulldagger. No, don't believe me. Witness it in time. That your imposition on the black females, from the youngest to the oldest of you, will have your tongues cut out. Under the auspices of natural law, black woman, your womb authentically represents this space. The emptiness, the deepness, and the darkness of the space where everything has come from in place. Therefore, your womb is hallowed, having brought forth all of the people we see on the planet. It's a hallowed place. A mouth. This organ was not designed to be placed there. It's ill-placed. It's in contradistinction to natural order. It must be corrected. The gadgets that you have used to stimulate yourself, the foreign elements that you have used to stimulate yourself, is in contradistinction to natural order. You have violated deeply natural divine law based on how you've allowed your womb to be engaged in these manners that are perverted and in contradistinction to natural divine law. Don't believe me, but know that none of us could be destroyed and wiped out until we are warned that the directions that we're going in is wrong. It's given to all of us to listen, to hear the sound, the utterances of the Lord of our mothers and fathers through us. If elephants got in a jam, would the Lord send them a baboon to deliver them? Or would the Lord send them other elephants to deliver them? Our deliverance, black man, our deliverance, black woman, has to come through the hands and by the hands of black men and women with the utterances of sound, through language of truth based on our experience. Black man. The black man is a tender specimen today, walking the streets of black America. And black Americans, wherever we are, black man, be clear. Our abuse, our continuous abuse of our brother, our continual taking advantage of our brother, our continuous disrespecting our brother, our continuous dogging our brother, our continuing dishonoring our brother, our continuous harming our brother, black man, will bring irrevocable havoc, devastation, and cataclysm on your household, your mama, your daddy, your children, your friends. Everything that's connected to you will be disintegrated and destroyed because you refuse to listen to the echo of this time. The black man is tender in the sight of the Lord of our mothers and fathers, because the Lord of our mothers and fathers have heard our cry, have heard our pain, have witnessed our demise. And we're being reminded, get our hands off of him, to step away from him in the ugly that we have performed upon him coming into now. But don't believe me. We come from the gutter. My name is Brother Caladon. We're insignificant. We're nobody. But even from the gutter and even from nobody can the Lord of our fathers speak. You measure. You evaluate. And determine for yourself what will be your conclusion. But don't believe me. Live and witness what will descend on your head. But you did hear what was given to you to hear. Bow down, black man, and reconnect with the life source within you. Your friend cannot do it for you. Your daddy, your mama cannot do it for you. Your lady cannot do it for you. We must do it for ourselves. And we cannot become men until we bow down to the Lord God of our mothers and fathers, whatever you call it. But that life source that exists in each of us, know that there is no escape. There is no half step, shortcut. We each must practically do it for ourselves. We can be helped. We can be assisted. We can be inspired. But we must do it for ourselves, black men. There is no escape. And all of this talk about spiritualism, that I'm spiritual, you're spiritual. What's the basis of our spiritualism, black man? If we can't keep our words that we utter to each other, if we still lie and deceive and run game on each other, where is our spiritualism, black man? And we still using the N-word between ourselves to one another. Where is the spiritualism, black man? We still cannot honor those among us that are due our honor. Point in case, how can you be spiritual, black man, and not recognize the office of our elder brother, the most honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and not call him Farrakhan? He has an office that's honorable based on what he has wrought. And he's due our respect by being addressed at least as Minister Farrakhan. If you ain't got the guts and the backbone and the balls to call him the most honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That's our responsibility if we are spiritual. But if we're chumps, suckers, and tricks, then you will bypass this reminder, this correction from your brother from the gutter. That's me, the black cat, a little cat, Brother Collar Dunn. We walk with the greatness of the oneness of the black man in my veins to you, black man, to remind you of our relationship under nature's law. In my nothingness, in my insignificance, we come before you, bow down, honoring you, esteeming you. In your ugliness still, yet you're my brother, and we love you. But we gotta get it right. Now. Black man, now. What we won't do now, we will not do tomorrow. So our value, black man, cannot be what we say. Our value, black man, cannot be how we dress. Our value, black man, cannot be how much money we get. Our value, black man, cannot be how much women we lay. Our value must be measured based on our sensitivity toward each other. Our value must be measured based on our honesty and sincerity with each other. Our value must be measured based on our keeping our word to each other. If you're a cop, big cop, detective, captain. If you're a judge, big judge, criminal judge. If you're a politician, big politician, high flank, representative, president. All of it now in this cosmic time frame is subordinate to our relationship under natural law. So those who are to be esteemed, it won't be the badge you wear, as it were in the past. Those that are to be esteemed is what we carry into practice in our dealings between ourselves, of respect, of consideration, of sensitivity, of honor. So So you can't run rampant like you did years ago because you hold office in the system representing the Caucasian. Yet seeing yourself separate from us on the street as the masses of black men. When divine justice descends upon you, your role in the Caucasian won't be able to protect you from the beating and the whooping and the chastisement that you will receive based on your malfeasance to us individually as well as collectively. You won't escape. But don't believe me. We're insignificant. We're nothing. We're nobody. We come from the gutter. This black cat, this brother Colorado, with the greatness of the oneness of the black man in my veins, coming to you, black man, reminding you that we are the same. Dig it. Dig it. Excuse me. Pharaoh Sanders. Accompanying me in his musical interlude in the background. Deaf, Dumb and Blind is the name of the LP. The specific cut that's playing is in the house of the Lord. Pharaoh Sanders, one of the gods in the cosmic jazz community that is still yet blessed to be on the planet. Check out his music from years back to now. He's a contributor to our awakeness. He's a contributor to our reminder. He was John Coltrane's right-arm man before Train went through transition. And no one has given him honor. Pharaoh Sanders is due all honor and all respect for what he has given in his growth, in his development, and what he has wrought to give to us, to keep us reminded of our relationship with the divine forces, with the music that he has set into motion. Pharaoh Sanders, one of the gods in the cosmic jazz community, a cosmic musician with Alice Coltrane, one of the goddesses in the realm of music, cosmic jazz. Alice Coltrane, one of the goddesses in music, following her husband, John Coltrane, keeping it alive. She has now since gone through transition, but she's due our respect and our honor and our reverence because of what she has wrought to us, from us. We produced all of them as we each have been produced from each other, black men. We have not produced ourselves. And you realize that the feeding that we receive has enabled us to come this far through the obstructions, through the hell, through the travail, through the horror, through the drama that we face. The feeding that has enabled us, that has survived us, has come through other black men first, and other black women second, because we are to ourselves specific as a species. Even though we're part of the whole, yet that specification yet exists among us, as is with our women. So remember, this is the cosmic renaissance. The calling back to nature, beckoning us to come back, to engage ourselves beckoning us to come back and re-examine ourselves, beckoning us to come back and re-enter ourselves. Black man, without that, no change can take place. No transformation can take place. Prayer and meditation must be forced upon us by ourselves alone. Nothing good can be forced upon us. We will reject it. We will rebel against it. It can only be presented to us if we're strong as we thought we were. If we backbone and guts and balls as we thought we had, then we can tackle ourselves, knowing the need to address and to arrest this demon, this beast. That exists within each of us. But if we don't have balls, and if we got the backbone of an ice cream cone without the cone, and just the ice cream, based on this responsibility alone, it will melt, and we will crumble like chumps, suckers, and tricks that we've been made into. And know that the perpetual continuous language of the N-word has been kept alive by the rulers, our enemies, to keep us despised, to keep us nothing in each other's sight, to give us no life value. When you take away the life value of the people, they become nothing, zero. So you feel you can do whatever you want to do to them, any kind of way. Say anything that you want to them, any kind of way. Do anything you want to, any kind of way, because you've accepted them as being nothing. The N-word describes us as nothing, black man. And there's no way we can make it acceptable to ourselves based on what has happened in 500 years. It's a joke, it's a trick, it's a scam, it's a conspiracy. And those who have perpetuated and keep it alive are our enemies, even though they may have black skin. They are the Judases among us. They will be destroyed in time, sooner than not. The infiltrators, the spies that are black, representing the system, you all will be destroyed. Literally. Your families included. Witness it in time. It's the sound in the street. Have you been on the street, black man? Have you heard what's being said? It says that no longer will the Judases and the infiltrators and the spies be able to rule and move comfortably as they have in the past, and cause the death of our heroes as they have in the past, and get away. That day is ended. So says the voice in the street, in the black streets of America. Black man from outside of America, you come here with this false arrogance, with this false sense of importance, with your head stuck up in your butt. The affluence of people throughout the world has not come from Africa, have not come from other parts of the world to affect the world. The affluence has come from those of us here, insignificant as we are, but we have impacted upon the whole world, informing and fashioning their language, informing and fashioning their approach to life, their style of movement through time. We here, in our insignificance, have determined that. So you, my brother, who have come from outside of the gates of America, here to America, are you working as agents with the rulers of the society to keep us divided, to keep us scorned, to keep us subjected? Then are you going to be an enemy against our rise, black man? Then you must suffer the chastisement. You must suffer the destruction of our enemy, because you thusly prove to represent an enemy to us.
Huh?
It's all. Yeah, so black man, those of you from outside of America, you've forgotten that you're in bondage too. You've forgotten that you are a footstool too. You've forgotten that you are dominated and governed and ruled by the Caucasian too. Black man from outside of America. You also need to bow down and reconnect with the life source under nature's law. From the auspices, the guidances and the directions of the greatness of the oneness of the black man in America. As a species with allegiance under nature's law. You're one of us. Choose to separate yourself from us based on your deportment, based on your attitude, based on your negligence, based on your disrespect, then you will be dealt with as an enemy among us, to us. You cannot be an enemy to one of us, black men, and not be an enemy to all of us. We are one. There is no division in reality. It's in our head, which is a joke, because our heads have been made up by those who govern and rule us, those who have slaved us, and who have taken advantage of us. Reality cannot be divided like that. We're one species. We're one people. So whatever you do against some of us, you do against all of us. Whatever you do against one of us, you do against all of us under nature's law. Check it for yourself. Don't believe me. The greatness of the oneness of the black man on the planet, beginning in America, transcending all obstructions, all lines, all divisions, all systems, all beliefs, all formations, regathering us as one again, as the Lord of our mothers and fathers would have it originally. Time has been known as the acid test. It will correct and make clear what's what, who's who. The mask that we have worn will be ripped from our faces, and the truth of who we are, friend, enemy, and foe, will be made known to us. That you will never be able to move comfortably among us no more. But you will be destroyed. Among us, in America on the streets, are those who have the consciousness as black law defenders for us, defending what's in our best interest and canceling out what is not in our best interest. By whatever means necessary, black law defenders, they've come to have an allegiance to us. They've come to be devoted to us as a species, as a people. They've come to have a conviction for us and our well-being. They've come to defend us with their lives. There are millions of them on the street, hidden, not visible, not obvious. Black law defenders, black men. They understand the nature of what we're saying to you. To be alerted and be apprised that those of you who choose and yet to be enemies to us, black cops, black officials, spies, Judases, and infiltrators, you no longer will escape this hour, this day. Your days are numbered. Don't believe me. On the street of black America, they say your family too, not just you. Those are not my words. We're passing on the sounds that are being uttered in the streets, in the corners, in the crevices, where we yet weep like man. The voice and the sound, the Lord God of our mothers and fathers have to come through us. Who else will it come through but us? Black man. Who gonna save you from the wrath of the black man? Who gonna save you from the black justice that you have missed? Who gonna save you from being impaled as Zulu, Shaka Zulu, that is, impaled his enemy? His brothers in South Africa burned their enemies among us, alive. You will not escape. This tape of the cosmic renaissance calling back to nature, us as a species in nature, under the auspices of the greatness of the wonders of the black man in America, is dedicated to my elder brother, Brother Dr. Khalid Muhammad, a precious being, a precious soul that was murdered by the government of America, having induced upon him an aneurysm that took his life and made it look natural. It was the government of England connected with the government of America that assassinated Bob Marley with a cancer germ. Stokely Carmichael with a cancer germ. All assassinated by the government of America. The truth of our enemies must be uttered. The Lord of our ancestors will be our only protector from these demons and these devils that have dominated and scourged our lives. There will be no one world order. It will be destroyed before its final stages. The new Holy Land is no longer outside of America. The land has changed hands. The new Holy Land is now in America, placed in Chicago, Illinois, where the elder brother, Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan resides. That's the new Holy Land, black man. The elder brother, the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is one of the gods. The last of his lineage in his last 100 years, beginning with Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, was one of the gods. Noble Drew Ali was one of the gods. And the Lord God of our mothers and fathers have sent to us to remind us and to keep us awake. Black man. The Honorable Master Farad Muhammad was one of the gods. Coming to awaken and to lift up the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was one of the gods. Black man. Dr. King, Malcolm X, they were one of the gods. Black man. None of them had a toothpick to herald the response, to claim the attention of our people, because they spoke from their souls. They represented the Lord God of our mothers and fathers. John Coltrane was one of the gods, black man. Bob Marley was one of the gods, black man. And we have forgotten, and we have your deepest forgiveness, that Curtis Mayfield was one of the gods, black man. And they also attempted to kill him on stage through the utterances of this government. They caused him to be crippled and eventually caused his life. But it was not an accident. It was an assassination attempt because of what he uttered of truth, of stimulant, of reminder of us to come back to ourselves. He was the initiator. He was an innovator. Curtis Mayfield was one of the gods. Malachi York is one of the gods, black man, locked down for 125 years on trumped up charges. He's still one of the gods, black man. All of these are very precious souls that have been sent to us to keep us alive in our spirits. The satellites that are put up in the sky are bad to keep us confused, to keep us scatterbrained, to keep us disconnected so that we cannot reconnect within ourselves to avert our efforts. They are bad, but they will fail. They will not be successful. The sound that the pyramids throughout the earth is emitting right now, that were constructed by our elder brothers, are emitting sound of harmony. Guess what, black man? Those in authority of the Caucasian is using our knowledge from Egypt, and they have claimed the language of the Amen to be uttered out of themselves to maintain their role and position of authority. But they've used it for destructive means in a degenerative way, representing Shaitan. As we reactivate the sound of the word Amen, moving up, reaching to become righteous, they will become dethroned. Language is vital. Sound has been used to lift, to raise, to transform. Sound has been used to lift, to raise, and to transform. Language is sound, black man. Rooted in truth, it has the capacity to transform and to resurrect. It also has the capacity to disintegrate and to destroy, as the Shaitanic forces have done to us, the Caucasians. Epitomized and embodied as the demonic forces, the devil god, we call them, ruling on the planet. The devil god. They are our enemy. Like man, know that this symbol, the clenched fist, is still meaningful, and it must not be disdained and dishonored. When we cannot speak to each other and we show this symbol and sign, it indicates that we realize that we are one. And if it's ever dishonored and disrespected, those among us who will dishonor it, those among us who will disrespect it, will be crushed to the earth by those among us. The black law defenders will crush you. The clenched fist represents still our oneness as a species under nature's law. Disrespect it not. We thank you, black man, for your courage, for your guts, for your strength, for your backbone and your balls to last this long. In the midst of this utterance and sound, calling you back home to yourself. Can you stand yourself, black man? Are you still afraid of yourself, black man? Fear, ignorance was given to us by those that ruled us and dominated us. What we are afraid of, we will not try to do it, because fear binds us in such a way that we won't even try to do it, and what we're ignorant of, we don't even know what to do. Two great threats that we can transcend by bowing down and reconnecting with the life source. And the evidence of our bowing down will be witnessed in our performance and our behavior and attitude toward each other. The callousness will go away. The apathy will be disintegrated. The indifference and the arrogance will be subjected and dropped. The arrogance and separatedness will be dismissed. The selfishness will be disintegrated and dismissed. We must become inclusive and realize that we have enemies in us, among us, to address. And we cannot address the enemies among us, black men, until we first address the enemies in us. And the only way they can be addressed is through bowing down. Prayer and meditation must be. It must be. Think tanks and prayer tanks must be set up throughout the hood, across the country. We must study together. We must work our strategies together. We must pray together, black men, to rid ourselves of this demonic force and this curse having been placed upon us. We must deliver ourselves, black men. So what is the Lord God of our mothers and fathers through us? We can be delivered if we can receive each other in the light and the truth that's given to us to give to each other. But if we cannot value each other enough to listen and to receive what's being uttered, then we are to be damned and to be destroyed. Remember, black man, truth cannot be personal. It can only be encompassing the whole of us. It cannot be private to any of us. And that which is private can only be a dream, a state of sleep that lies keep us in. The truth is the only force that awakens us back to ourselves, enabling us to stand and face ourselves. Without enough truth, we will not be strong enough to face ourselves. And the new language is, all of that which is false among us, about us, is weak. All of that which is true and sincere about us and among us is strong. That's the new language. It's not based on our physical prowess. It's based on the content that we've developed within ourselves as men and women. Be reminded, my sister, of the sadism that has been given to you when you enjoy inflicting pain on us as black men. Beware of the sickness of sadism, black men. Of the pain that we enjoy inflicting on each other and our women. It's a sickness, it's an illness, it's a disease. And we must transcend, but it can only be transcended if we bow down and force prayer on ourselves. No one can force it on us. We must force it on ourselves. But until we can witness and accept the corruption and the ugly among us, in us, we will not find a need to desire to become cleansed and healed and transformed. Part 2. Welcome, Brother Aladon. The greatness of the oneness of the black man in America. A movement of time. A cosmic renaissance. A call back to nature under the auspices of the greatness of the oneness of the black man in America. As a species, with allegiance under nature's law. We spoke earlier about the vitalness and the unparalleledness of prayer, of language, of meditation. Redeeming us. Transforming us. Reshaping us. Redesigning us. Cleansing us. And healing us. There are two forms of language. Language for the outer world, to acquaint us with the exterior environment, with the objective plane outside our physical form. Language specific to that world. But under the auspices of nature, the polarity principle is operative, inseparable. Therefore, there is an inner language that's identifiable with the internal chemistry and makeup relating to the life source that resides in each of us. We cannot escape through imagination, through wishful thinking, the damage that has been done to us in the 500-year pilgrimage we've been on with this demon, with this devil, with this beast. The Caucasian would call the devil God. Without resulting to take responsibility for ourselves as individuals, with discipline. Because without discipline, nothing progressive can take place. The erosion, the cancer, the fragmentation, the shattering of ourselves, and the disconnectedness of ourselves within ourselves to the life source has been our impairment, has been our disease that we have carried between ourselves. Each of us must realize at some stage in our growth that an operation must take place within us. We must become the doctors, being given the sense of direction for those who understand and know better than ourselves as to how we are to approach this tenuous excavation. This internal work we personally, we speak in the first person plural, we, it resides in our spirit and personality. Our foundation of thought, of movement, of growth, has been under the auspices of ancestral worship. And as a student in nature, for these many, many, many years, And out of that posture, we come to you with what we bring. Let manifestation validate all truth. Let not costume, features, badges, or uniforms determine the value of what's being uttered. But let manifestation exact and validate its relationship to what's happening on the planet, to what's happening in our environment, what's happening to ourselves. We said a little bit ago that this tape is a tribute to my beloved brother, Dr. Khalid Muhammad. A brilliant and profound giant of truth and justice among our people. May his spirit live eternally among us. A door was opened by those who understand certain properties and forces on the inner plane. The inner plane is where the entities, the disembodied forces operate. We, myself, this brother Kaladan, upon witnessing and hearing the death of my brother, as we indicated earlier, the government of America were the initiators of his death. Yet, however, there were those among us, black, in the metaphysical community, that felt endangered by my brother's presence and by his position of discipline being superimposed on them. He made it clear, as those of truth would make clear, that our people must be respected when we are approached as an audience, without foul language. Other than four-letter words being foul language, beyond the word of hell and damn, other four-letter words representing foul language as our history has recorded, is not palatable to us as a growing people coming out of the slime pit, coming out of the dungeon, coming out of hell. If there's no discipline in our language being uttered between us, question becomes, how can we identify ourselves or label ourselves as spiritual? The word itself implies refinement. The word itself implies qualitativeness. The word itself implies healing, cleansing, transition, transformation, transcendence. So any language that's debilitated coming from the mouth of any of us that's alleging to be spiritual would thusly be a bare-faced lie. And truth ain't personal. As we indicated earlier, by its own inherent nature, it cannot be personal. And because of that position that my elder brother, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, presented to the metaphysical community, it struck the wrong chord in some of those that were there. As they sought to open the door that my brother may be approached as he was and his life taken as he was, because it jeopardized their role to move unharnessed, unchecked as they have moved. There was a flyer that came out in the year 2011, around the time of Juneteenth. That spoke to the question, black men, can we receive truth out of a book? And accept it as our own? Time has invalidated that approach. Unless we, as the receivers of the literature that we read, are able to explore and adventure the particulars of what's being spoken to, that the truth represents, that we ourselves might engage it definitively, that it might validate itself to us as receivers of a written material. We cannot be confident within it to say that it's true. We ourselves must know it. And if we don't know it, based on what the book has said, it yet becomes a belief system. And across the board, the books that we've been given in 500 years have fostered a belief system within us. It has drugged us like a drug, leading us to believe that we believe in what we say we believe. But there has been no specific, emphatic evidence to validate in 500 years that we believe what we say we believe. Real belief in any arena, on any level, with any issue, will motivate action. If the belief hasn't motivated action within us, driving us to witness, to unfold, to unravel the mystery of the belief, that we might eventually know. If the belief has not driven us to that point, it has proven to be a drug. It has captured us and it has locked us down. It has crystallized our reflex, where we've been ill-equipped, to operate and move beyond its structure. Thusly stating at the same time, we have accepted line, hook, stake, and all across the board in 500 years that what we believe, we know. There's no evidence of that in our deportment, in what we are able to exercise in our dealings between ourselves. There is a new movement among us to provide insights and understanding. That movement specifically, which is not the one of itself alone, but yet it has gained momentum among us. Metaphysics. The material that we have extrapolated from the books that we've drawn from and have represented to our people. The information is significant. But we have to be reminded, too, that the rulers knew that this stage in time would come, that we would be hungry and open to receive anything that would be different than what we've been exposed to. So would they not construct material to imply that we would become awakened to this medium? Not to say that there is not vital knowledge there, but as the messenger indicated, and the most honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, his student, indicated, rapid knowledge where there is truth, and much falsehood mixed together is more dangerous than any straight lie. Because inevitably we can see the lie coming straight before us. But when a lie or falseness is wrapped up with truth, it's difficult to make out its total ingredient. And it can entrap us and lock us in dimensions that's not in our best interest. We applaud all of the brothers and all of the sisters, forgive me please, from whatever angle of discipline that they are bringing to provide us insights and understanding about what's happening in this war, this spiritual war between ourselves and our enemies. So we must be realizing also that we have enemies among ourselves, born from the pilgrimage of 500 years with this devil. And if a devil has fed us for 500 years, surely you would realize that many of us have become devils too. The question becomes, can we escape our devilhood? Can we escape the demons that we've drawn to ourselves from the inner plane in the disembodied world? By repeating and constructing a ritual of itself alone. Or must we delve down deep within ourselves, intricately, intimately, and construct language that's identifiable to the inner world, that's associated to the life source within ourselves, that will enable us to grow and to develop in stages through the process of time, releasing ourselves from the demons, releasing ourselves from the devilship that we've been given by those that have ruled us in this time frame. We must understand there are no instant quits in our deliverance. We must understand that the responsibility has been given to us. It has not been given to us collectively without being given to us individually. Because as we individually strive and reach up in aspiration for help, for mercy, for transcendence, it means that we have to individually accept responsibility to face ourselves intricately and intimately, day to day, moment to moment, and understand that the chemistry that has fashioned us, as we said earlier, predominantly has existed with language. Language that has not been kin to us, but language that has been foreign to us in our interior makeup. We have to begin to understand, to begin to even get into the shadow, nearing the life source within ourselves. We got to pass the astral, entering into the astral. We come in contact with feeling. We must pass it. We come in contact with emotion. It has to be passed. We must come in contact with passion. It has to be passed. We must come in contact with desire. It has to be passed. We must come in contact with impression, which is the last and final stage, to even get to the shadow of the life source, to commune with its presence, that something might be emitted to us of truth. This will take discipline, self-discipline, that we must each impose on ourselves. No one can arrest our demons. No one can arrest our devilship. We must arrest it ourselves by being given the truth to give us the right sense of direction as to how we may begin to approach ourselves. Reading alone has not given us the means. Without the practice and the experimentation on our part, to experiment with what the reading represents, that we might know from the belief system that what's being read is applicable and applicable, and the results will validate its vitalness, its significance. But other than that, it's a scam. It's a lie. It's a sucker scam. Truth ain't personal. Never has been. By its own inherent nature, it represents the divine. And that encompasses all life. Only dreams are personal and private. Truth belongs to the whole. How can we bring forth sensitivity within us for each other? How can we bring forth compassion from within ourselves for each other? How can we bring forth consideration from within ourselves to each other? Time has allowed us to witness that it is the acid test. That reading books have enabled us to validate our sincerity. Books have enabled us to develop the capacity of sincerity and honesty between ourselves. It's something that must be worked at. And the medium that has been provided us, enabling us the fulfillment, the accomplishment of its approach, praying and meditation. Prayer is with language. Meditation is empty-mindedness, witnessing and being in observance of our breathing consciously, naturally. Dispelling images. Meditation is witnessing our breath consciously. Dispelling images. But it's a time process. In nature, there are no instant quicks. There are no shortcuts. We got to be willing to tackle the whole bag. Take the whole trip. But we cannot accomplish the end product. We cannot divest ourselves from the evils that have been fed to us for 500 years from reading a book. We cannot divest ourselves from the evils that's inherent within us, formed and fashioned within us by rituals that we can concoct. The magic that we can construct from reading the book will still not enable us to become humans or man, more or less, better expressed. Man in us can only be born from our travail with ourselves, our wrestling with ourselves. There is no easy trip to get back home to the Lord God of our mothers and fathers within ourselves. It must be accepted as a struggle beyond our lip service. We must become practitioners in engaging ourselves. The evidence of our engagement would have to be clear and honest and open in its displaying in terms of our sensitivity to each other, in terms of our consideration to each other, in terms of our mercy to each other. If we cannot exercise sensitivity, consideration, respect, compassion to each other, moment to moment in our engagements to one another, that we have not delved, we have not worked in the dimensions that we should delve, in the manner that we should work with ourselves, because there is no evidence that we have travailed with ourselves well enough, long enough to reaffirm the connection that we've begun to make with the forces within our own being. It has to be more than a body of knowledge. That we can reverberate from what others have given to us or from what we've read. As we said earlier, the elder brother, the man called Jesus, according to the writers, indicated in this time that the kingdom of heaven must be taken by force. We each know that the kingdom of heaven is in ourselves. But it will not be a child's play in terms of us getting back to that stage, getting back to that point, getting back to that environment, getting back to that space. We've got to make war on ourselves. Before we can begin to impact on the enemies among us, black men, before we can impact on the devils among us, black men, before we can impact on the demons among us, black men, before we can impact on the beasts among us, black men, we first must face and accept that we also are beasts. Yes. We also are demons. Yes. We also are devils. Yes. If we're not, how have we become delivered from it? What is it that has happened to enable us to transcend it other than our imagination? There is none other than our work being performed on ourselves. Black man, black woman, this cannot be fake. This can be no scam. This can be no shuck. This can only be true. And real from within ourselves. My old man, my surrogate father, my life teacher, taught me and others to know is to be. If we cannot be what we know, then we don't know it. Being able to reverberate back in language terms what we've heard, being able to reverberate back in language terms what we've read, does not imply that we know, nor that we understand. Because if we even understood, we would know the need for experiment on our part to examine, to explore, to take into practice the directives and the approaches given to us in literary terms, that it may prove itself to us and become an integral part of our makeup, therefore enabling us to become intelligized from the process, born from that process of engagement. Other than that, it's a game. Prayer and and meditation is our only avenue for redemption. Black man, black woman, prayer and meditation is our only avenue of offense to deal with our enemy. Prayer and meditation is our only defense to deal with our enemy, black man, black woman. And we each are held responsible to deal with ourselves. No one can pray for us. No one can meditate for us. We must pray for ourselves. We must meditate for ourselves. Others may assist us. Others may help us. But we ourselves must do the work. Praying together is encouraging. If the priests that exist among us predominantly pray as they allege to us that they do, that they have done, would you think that there would be the breakdown that we've witnessed among them, among us, that's present? It could not be. Because the very basic praying alone, in truth, in sincerity, in extensiveness, in investment, would not allow the division, the fragmentation to survive among them, nor among us. We've been made confused, but we cannot see our confusion. There would be no need to move, to arrest it, because we see no need to make a move, to adjust that which needs to be adjusted. If our direction is to get on the table, and our position is on the floor, yet within our mind, within our belief system, being on the floor, we think we're already on the table, then we will not be moved from the floor to actually get on the table, because we would think in our belief system that we've already arrived. What we believe, black man, black woman, is not what we know. The evidence of what we know is what we're carrying into practice in dealing with each other. We cannot be spiritual beings and use foul language in our day-to-day expressions between us. Because language, again, in its ingredients, in its chemical makeup, is an electric phenomenon. And it would have a debilitative, erosive effect on our internal makeup, as it has proven in time. Foul language has been proven by the medical profession to be abusive between us and between others. Truth is not personal, black man. Truth is not personal, black woman. Black woman has black men. You cannot be recaptured based on your physical prowess, your behind, your legs, your breast, your face, being as beautiful as you are. Yet, the beauty of your form have not redeemed you from the horror of 500 years being placed inside of you. The approaches in the social world of your adornment cannot be befitting for our transition, for its application, for a new standard, for those looking to you as an example, as younger females, with slipper-spoon pants and slipper-spoon skirts. The slipper-spoon was designed for shoes. We would have difficulty in putting them on because the shoes would be so tight. Without the slipper-spoon, we wouldn't be able to put the shoes on. So what are we saying, girlfriend? That your slipper-spoon pants and your slipper-spoon skirts are a degenerative show representing ill health, representing disease, representing impairment. You have become, as we said earlier, part of the meat factory. But yet when we as black men, black males, approach you as a piece of meat, you become indignant. You become disturbed. But we have only been mirrors to you to remind you of what you're bringing into space. If you can't stand to be exacted in our response to you based on what you wear and how you dress, then go back and consider how you should dress, that you can be more confident within yourself and have a different response out of us and our language to you. But if you come to us looking like a hoe, being a hoe in your attitude, and we address you like a hoe, then who's in error? Ask yourself the question. The greatness of the oneness of the black man in America is from the street. All things that have been born from the street in our pilgrimage in 500 years have proven to be valid. Don't believe me? Check it out for yourself. The intent of this endeavor, this talk, the literature that's disseminated on the street, on paper, has never been designed, is not designed, will not be designed to disrespect you, black man, to disrespect you, black woman, but to exact to each of us the truth of where we are. If we have no truth in ourselves, how would we have an appetite to receive truth to ourselves? We won't. If we've been fed garbage perpetually for our nourishment of body, when real, righteous, healthy food is given to us, we won't have no appetite for it. We got two appetites. For our head and spirit, and for our body. The principle is the same. If we've been fed garbage and poison and corruption for our head and spirit predominantly, anything real, anything true, anything honest, anything sincere will be rejected. But because you reject it, it does not deny the nature of what's being given. It still remains the same truth. It only validates that we are inadequate and unqualified to receive it. But understand, the angels of destruction that's operating in our space will devour those first that have refused to honor and to reverence the call to clean up, to reconstruct, to come back to ourselves, and to honor and respect ourselves and each other. But we cannot honor others if we have no honor for ourselves. We cannot respect others if we have no respect for ourselves. And the only way that we can develop honor, the only way that we can develop respect is through bowing down and reconnecting to the life source within ourselves. All of the gods that have become God, as they have been written of in time, had to bow down in their humility to this eternal space that also exists within ourselves as breath, giving obedience to its presence, enabling us eventually to become one. My elder brother, the God, the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, was a God. He had to bow down. He had to invest in himself. He had to reconnect with the life source within himself to claim the attention on the part of our people, to touch the heart and the spirit of our people. He had to touch his own heart. He had to touch his own spirit. And he was enabled to do that by making time to pray. The end product validated that he had to have a prayer life based on what he produced. Noble Drew Ali, the God-man, who was also one of the gods that the Lord God of our mothers and fathers sent to us to remind us and to awaken us of our ancestral lineage, also had to bow down to be given the insight and to draw to himself the understanding and the counsel and the guidance that he was given to give to us, enabling us to become awake. He did not use foul language to claim our attention. He was a disciplined man, as Garvey was a disciplined man. We cannot become God's black man, nor goddess's black woman, without becoming disciplined. The eventuality of Godship is born from our discipleship to truth. There are no gods without being disciples of truth. We cannot be disciples of truth if we're not willing to discipline ourselves, to curb our language, to keep our bodies clean, to keep our environments clean where we habit and live. We're transferring energy on all levels of our physical presence, of cleanliness and attentiveness, on our environmental presence of cleanliness and attentiveness, and on our language presence of healing, inspiring, encouraging language that cannot be debilitative. No foul. We're helpers to one another. But if we're not disciplined, we will see that as a conflict. Truth comes to disturb. Truth comes to slay. Truth comes to kill. All that which is false, all that which is ugly, all that which is evil, all that which is impaired, we cannot be disciples of truth if we wish to continue the poison. We cannot be disciples of truth if we wish to continue the egoism. We cannot be